Let's talk a little bit about expressions. Expressions are always so much fun. So I sourced some celebrities and tried to kind of like make a story. So here's Tyra. Tyra's angry. She saw herself misrepresented in a tabloid. She's just mad. And then Leo's like, girl, I told you so. And then Ariana's like, oh, that's so cringe. I'm so happy that didn't happen to me. And Obama's like, my fellow Americans, I am amused. Thank you so much for all the free entertainment. So I tried to choose some expressions that weren't like, you know, happy, sad. Tyra's angry, but this is like epic anger, you know? All right, so let's draw angry Tyra here. I'm gonna start by just kind of penciling in her head. We'll figure out like roughly the head angle. Her jaw is going to be slightly longer. It's as long as this distance. Okay, so if her mouth was closed, the bottom of her chin would be here, right? It's exactly this distance, the exact distance of her mouth being open. So you can take that distance and use that as a reference point. I love it when supermodels make faces like this because you're like, yes, they're human. And our instructor, Jessie, if you watch her expressions video, one thing she says is like, don't be afraid to make people ugly. Ugly as in like the expression is ugly. So if I draw a line across her eye and then I move it to the top of her ear, you can see that this line is curved, right? It's going down, which means you're looking down at her, which means you're not gonna see the bottom of her chin, right? You're gonna see the top of her head. So then you want to follow all of those lines. And then once you kind of know where everything is, then you can start to exaggerate. So yeah, I would probably start with the eyebrows and exaggerate them. And here, you know, like angry eyebrows are usually pretty symmetrical. If somebody's angry, confused angry, the eyebrows may be a little bit asymmetrical. Whereas like rage, the eyebrows would be pretty symmetrical. And then her eyes are pretty close to the eyebrows. If you want to exaggerate angry eyes, you can actually draw the pupils smaller. You'll see this done a lot in anime. We can still give her eyelashes. We can still make her like pretty angry. Usually if I drew a non-angry nose, it would probably be like this. But if it's like an angry nose, I would probably like do this, right? See how angry that suddenly looks? And then the mouth. My tip for you would probably be to find the corners first and then draw in the shape of the mouth. Angry mouths are sort of square instead of round. So I'm actually gonna make this lip more square. I'll show you what I mean. So it's kind of like more square on the side, right? Jewel says, so you like to stay away from drawing nose bridges, nasolabial folds, and lower eyelids then? It depends. It depends on what you're trying to say. For example, for Tyra, like if I wanted to draw this, right, I could, but then she just looks like an evil queen. Right? Like, I guess I could make my brush a little smaller and like I could kind of add those in, but I don't really think it's actually contributing anything, you know? It's the art of leaving things out. That's really hard, right? Because we see everything. We're like, oh, I see all these details that I want to put in. But if you have detail everywhere, then you really don't have detail anywhere, right? Details need to be very strategic. For example, her cheekbones here. If I wanted to emphasize she has these high cheekbones, I could probably put those in, right? But if you're angry, your jaw is more square. I wouldn't give her this like beautiful jaw. I would kind of give her like a more like look at her jaw. It's like wiggly. Like she's so mad that it's wiggly, right? I think that your shapes and your shape language can support your expressions. All right, let's do Leo. So Leo's like, ha, I told you so. With this expression, the tilt in the head is so important. I'm actually going to make it even more tilted. Check out his eyebrows, like how far his eyebrows are from his eyes. For this particular expression, I would draw the wrinkles on his forehead. I feel like without the wrinkles, it just wouldn't be the same. Let's sketch out his eyebrows. Let's like make them really really exaggerated. Also, like if you're drawing eyes or eyebrows, you want to draw them together. Like you never really want to draw like one eyebrow and then one eye and then not draw everything else. And so your eyes are the same distance wide as they are apart. So if you took like the distance of an eye and you put it in between, that would be the correct proportions. But in this case, his eyes look like they're actually shorter. I think it's like just the expression. So you can always adjust as you go. You can make it like super exaggerated. Hey lady. Okay, so his nose isn't really doing that much. Pretty neutral, not really doing a heck of a lot. And then the mouth. The mouth is key in this expression, right? Like you can see the center of his mouth is here and the center of his nose is here. I know it's super subtle, but it makes a big difference, right? So whenever you have like sarcasm or an expression that's kind of silly, that's when the mouth is asymmetrical. So if you look at this expression, you're probably like, you know what? I can tell what the expression is like, even without the wrinkles. So when you get like the basic proportions down, that's kind of when you can decide like, what else do I want to add? Do I want to add like the bottom of his eyes? You know, do I want to add these lines? No, I don't want to add those lines. Do I want to add these lines? Does it need it? I don't think so. Can you put them in? Sure. That is up to you. One thing you could do is you could probably use values too. Like if you have a look at the wrinkles, can you tell that the wrinkles are red? Drawing black lines don't really help, right? So if I take these wrinkle lines and I reduce the opacity of them, could work. That's a good compromise. It's less in your face. You need to prioritize what you really want to showcase. You can help support our mission to make art education easily accessible for everyone. Become a Wing Canvas member on Patreon or YouTube and get special perks like classes and critiques. I really wanted to draw this cringe face. Tell me you don't want to draw this cringe face with me. It's so good. It's all in the mouth and the eyebrows for this expression. Just to kind of show you like how I would go about this mouth, because it's so complicated. First of all, it's a little bit asymmetrical. So if you want to draw in like the basic shape, like simplify into a very basic shape, it kind of looks like a coffin shape. Anime sometimes will also draw mouths like this, like just simple. So she's kind of like the cringe face is like the eyebrows are showing pain. There's a little bit of disgust. There's a little bit of like uncertainty, a little bit of worry. Also, you can see her eyes are a little asymmetrical. Like she's kind of got a bit of a fold here that's like not really on the other side of her face. So the eyes and the eyebrows say, I'm in pain. The nose is disgust. Just like slightly longer. When you're disgusted, your nose is either slightly shorter or slightly longer. And the mouth is going to be the best part. The mouth is like going to make everything better. And then if you're drawing teeth or you're kind of struggling to draw teeth, don't draw teeth like this. The best way to draw teeth is to suggest teeth. And then this is where I would put in those wrinkles, just a little bit. And Ariana Grande is known for her really, really high, impossibly high ponytail. I would also probably lift like the corner of her eye. So like instead of drawing her eyelid like this, right? You can draw an eyelid and suggest it, right? By drawing broken lines. So what I might do is I might like tilt this eye, and if I tilt that eye, she looks even more pained, right? They're much more subtle than actually drawing all those details. In my drawing, she looks like she's kind of in pain. So if I wanted to not make her look as pained, I can just remove the tilt in her eyebrow. All right. So I'm going to answer some questions here. Eva asked, how would you go about drawing the head from a higher or lower perspective? We have a YouTube video that explains all of that. If you Google Wing Canvas head angles, you will find a tutorial on that. Blue Jay Flu says, what are some tips to showing expressions when the face is the side profile? If the expression is central to your idea or your story, don't do it from the side. It's just not as clear. If you were a director and you were directing a film and one of the characters in your film has like a really, really important scene where he's going through like a lot of pain, the whole purpose of that scene is to show that. You're not going to show his back, obviously. You're probably not even going to show him from the side because it's not as clear. You're probably going to show him from the front or like 3/4 view. So when you are illustrating something or designing something, like think like an art director, right? Okay, so my sketch of Obama, he looks kind of tired and sleepy and not very happy, but in the picture he looks very amused. Right? So how do you capture the amusement? How do you capture like the subtle difference when the mouth clearly looks angry? If you didn't see his mouth, you're like, hey, he looks happy. He looks relaxed. He looks like he's having a good day. And then if you look at the bottom, it's like, he looks disgusted. He looks sad. Like, it's an exaggerated sad. I'm like, okay, this is not an authentic expression. It's kind of like a fake sad face with like relaxed eyes. They contradict each other, which is what makes this expression so silly. If you look at mine, it's not quite there yet, right? The eyes are looking a little bit sleepy, so let's fix that. Also, I'm simplifying his eyes, like, because I don't necessarily need to draw the bottom lid, I can kind of just draw in his pupils and his iris. So again, drawing what's only absolutely necessary is always a better approach than trying to draw everything. So now I'm gonna put in his nose. And then his mouth is really also the place where I want to put in the most emphasis. This expression needs those lines. You know, those wrinkle lines that we're like debating whether or not we need them. In this expression, we need them. Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. Look at that. So it's situational. In this one, you're just like, oh, something's missing. Do I want to, you know, put in those lines? Obama's an older man, right? So it doesn't really hurt. You make him look more distinguished when you give him more wrinkles. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is just shift his mouth up just a little bit.
If you're drawing along with me, I'd love to see it. Tag us at Wing Canvas on Instagram or share your artwork on the Wing Canvas Discord, where you can find our notes and illustrations from live streams. We love hearing from our community. Is there a video topic you'd like to suggest? Let us know in the comments below. Join a virtual art class in seconds and learn live from Wing Canvas instructors. Enjoy weekly assignments, individual guidance, and real-time feedback on your artwork so you can create like a fearless illustrator. If you learned something new, please like and share this with a fellow art nerd. If you love receiving quality and free arts education, subscribe. Here's a couple other videos you can check out next.